Ethan had never felt so small in his life, yet so alive. The twin moons of Viridian 7 glowed above the city, casting silver light over towers that floated in the air and gardens that shimmered like liquid crystals. The streets were crowded with beings of all shapes and colors, some with wings, some with scales, some whose faces seemed almost like mirrors reflecting the stars. Humans were rare here, and he felt every gaze upon him, curious, cautious, even slightly amused. But Ethan could not care. He was not looking at the crowd. He was looking at her. She appeared as if she had stepped out of a dream. The alien princess moved with grace no human could imitate, each step measured yet fluid, like water flowing over polished stones. Her skin glimmered faintly, catching the moonlight in patterns that reminded him of constellations. Her eyes were deep and strange, reflecting colors that no human name could describe. Pools of blue, violet, and something warmer, like amber sunlight. She wore a dress that seemed alive, shifting colors as if it breathed with her. But it wasn't her beauty alone that stunned him. It was her presence. There was something magnetic in the way she carried herself, something commanding yet gentle, something that made Ethan feel both insignificant and important at the same time. He tried to calm his racing heart. He told himself she was a princess, untouchable, surrounded by rules and guards and centuries of tradition. Humans like him, fragile, mortal, weak, had no place here. Yet his body betrayed his mind. He took a careful step forward, then another, until he found himself walking toward her without really deciding to. The crowd seemed to blur around him, fading into shadows and light, leaving only the princess in sharp focus. As he approached, he noticed the subtle details, the delicate curve of her hands, the soft way her hair floated around her shoulders, and the faint scent in the air, something floral but not entirely familiar. Every human instinct inside him screamed to turn back, to leave her in her world untouchable and perfect. Yet another part, deeper and louder, told him to speak, to risk everything. "Excuse me," he said, his voice almost a whisper. The words felt weak against the grandeur of her presence. The princess turned her head slightly, her gaze falling on him. Ethan froze, feeling the weight of her eyes. They were not cold, not judging. They were curious, thoughtful, and strangely kind. "You are human," she said softly, her voice melodic, like wind passing through crystal trees. Ethan nodded, suddenly aware that he had been staring too long, that his heart was beating too fast, that he had no idea what to say next. He tried to find courage in the depths of his being, to summon something worthy of this moment, this impossible encounter. Then, almost without thinking, the words slipped out of his mouth. I wish I had the opportunity to marry you," he whispered, his voice trembling. The moment his words left him, he regretted them, fearing embarrassment, anger, even laughter. But he could not take them back. The princess's eyes widened slightly. For a heartbeat, the world seemed to stop. Ethan felt exposed, naked in the face of centuries of alien elegance and tradition. And yet, she did not pull away. She did not laugh. Instead, she studied him, her expression unreadable, her gaze steady and intense. It was as if she were weighing something invisible, something delicate and rare. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. He knew he had crossed a line between species, between worlds, between what was expected and what was forbidden. But he also knew he could not lie. The feeling that had taken root in his heart months ago, the longing, the admiration, the inexplicable pull toward her, all demanded honesty. And honesty, he realized, was the first step toward anything extraordinary. For a long moment, they stood in silence, two beings from different corners of the universe, connected by a fragile thread of chance and courage. Around them, the festival continued, the music, the laughter, the shimmer of alien lights. But for Ethan, nothing else mattered. The world had narrowed down to a single point. The princess who had turned to look at him, whose eyes seemed to see not just a human, but a heart willing to reach across the galaxy. The princess's gaze lingered on Ethan longer than he thought possible. Her eyes, luminous and strange, seemed to see past the surface of him, past his human form, straight into something deeper, something that belonged to the heart. Ethan felt a shiver run through him. He had expected rejection, dismissal, even anger, but not this. Her curiosity was gentle, almost like a hand reaching out without touching, a question unspoken yet clear. Who are you, human, that dares to speak such words? I know I am just a human, Ethan said finally, voice soft but steady. I am weak, small mortal. But my heart feels something for you I cannot explain. I wish I could stand by your side, not as a visitor, not as a stranger, but as someone worthy of your trust, your love. The words felt heavier than air, yet lighter than hope. He had never admitted such feelings to anyone in his life, and now he had laid them bare before a princess of another world. For a long moment, she said nothing. She studied him, tilting her head slightly, letting the silver light of the moons fall across her face. Ethan noticed the faint shimmer of her skin, the way her hair floated like soft mist around her shoulders, and he wanted desperately to reach out, to bridge the impossible distance between them. You are brave, she said at last, her voice like a song carried on wind. Most humans would tremble in my presence. Most humans would hide their hearts, afraid of the vastness between our worlds, yet you speak boldly, without fear or calculation. Her eyes softened, the sharp edge of royalty melting into something almost tender. And yet, are you not afraid of what comes next? Ethan swallowed, his throat dry. Of course I am, he admitted. I am afraid of rejection, of humiliation, of failing you. But fear has never stopped me before when something is worth fighting for. You are worth everything. His words were simple, human, imperfect, but they came from a place of truth that no alien court, no distant law could deny. The princess's expression changed, flickering between surprise, contemplation, and something else Ethan could not name. She stepped closer, careful, measured, until the space between them seemed to hum with tension. You speak of love, she said softly, almost to herself. Yet love between our kinds, it is forbidden. Our worlds are not meant to join in such ways. Even the council would not understand, and my people. She trailed off, letting the words hang like fragile stars. Ethan felt a pang of despair, but he refused to turn away. He took a breath and met her gaze again. I do not care about laws or councils. I do not care about fear or distance. I only care about this moment, this truth between us. I cannot promise what the future will hold, but I can promise that I will try with everything I have to stand by you. Her eyes glistened, reflecting the twin moons. For a moment, Ethan thought she might step back, dismiss him as a foolish human, but instead she smiled. A small, soft smile, yet one that carried warmth, approval, and connection. Few humans speak like you, she said quietly. Most would bow, would hide, would retreat. But you dare to speak honestly. That is rare, and it is beautiful. Ethan's heart leapt. He had not expected praise. He had not expected kindness. He had not expected hope. And yet hope now wrapped around him like a shield, daring him to believe that perhaps the impossible could be possible. You honor me with your words, she continued, her voice trembling slightly. And perhaps you have given me something I have never felt before. Curiosity and maybe even trust. To speak so openly, to speak from the heart. It is a gift, human. Do you know that? I did not know, Ethan said, his voice breaking just a little. I only know what I feel. I only know that when I see you, I feel alive in a way I have never felt before. That is the truth. I cannot hide it, even if I wanted to. The princess looked at him for a long time, letting the silence stretch between them. The sounds of the festival faded into the background, leaving only the two of them, two beings from distant worlds, connected by something far older than fear, law, or expectation. In that moment, Ethan realized that this conversation, this fragile, impossible conversation, was the beginning of something neither of them could have predicted. The air between Ethan and the princess seemed to hum with quiet electricity. He could feel his heartbeat echoing in his ears, loud and insistent, while the alien festival lights danced across her face. For a moment, neither spoke. Words seemed too fragile, too small to carry the weight of what they both felt. And yet Ethan knew he could not stay silent. Some truths demanded to be said, no matter the risk. I have never met anyone like you, Ethan began, his voice trembling just slightly. Not in my life. You move through the world with such grace, such strength. But it isn't just that. It's your heart, your spirit. I can feel it, even across the distance between our worlds. His hands were slightly shaking, but he held them steady, as if to anchor himself in this impossible moment. The princess tilted her head, her gaze softening. You speak of hearts and spirits as if they are simple, she said, her voice low, thoughtful. But in my world nothing is simple. Love is measured, calculated, weighed against duty, against the expectations of millions. You speak freely without care for law, without care for consequence. It is confusing. I know, Ethan said quickly. I know it seems impossible. I know I am a human, and you are a princess, a being of a world I could never truly belong to. But my heart doesn't care about impossibility. My heart only knows that when I look at you, it aches in a way I have never felt before. I cannot ignore it. I cannot hide it. I love you. The words hung in the air like fragile glass, trembling under their own weight. Ethan felt as if the world had stopped, waiting for her response. He feared anger, disbelief, even laughter. But instead he saw something else, vulnerability. A flicker of something human, something raw and real in her alien eyes. You love me, she whispered almost to herself. Her voice wavered, soft and delicate, carrying a warmth Ethan had not expected. She stepped closer, and he felt the faint shimmer of her presence, a light brushing against him like starlight. Do you understand what that means, human? To love me is to risk everything. My world would never accept it. Even my own heart would be tested. Ethan took a slow breath, steadying himself. I understand, he said. I know it will be hard. I know it might hurt us both. But I cannot stop feeling this way. I cannot pretend it does not exist. And I would rather try and fail than never try at all, because even the thought of never knowing you, of never being near you, that thought is unbearable. Her eyes glistened, and for a moment Ethan wondered if she might step back, if the harsh realities of their worlds would crush this fragile hope. But then she did something unexpected. She reached out, placing her hand lightly over his, and the warmth of her touch sent shivers through him. Your words. They are reckless, she said softly, almost smiling, and yet there is something in them that calls to me. Something real. I have lived my life within walls of rules, of tradition, of expectation. I have been told whom to meet, whom to trust, whom to care for. But you break all of that with honesty, with courage, with heart. Ethan's chest tightened with emotion. He had never felt such recognition, such understanding from anyone, human or alien. I do not expect you to answer me now, he said. I do not expect you to promise anything. I only wanted you to know the truth. I only wanted you to know how I feel. She looked at him, her alien features soft and beautiful, and for the first time, her expression seemed entirely human. Open, vulnerable, and filled with unspoken longing. Perhaps, she said quietly, the universe has made a rare mistake, or a rare gift. Perhaps it has allowed a human heart to speak directly to mine, and perhaps I want to see where this truth leads. For the first time, Ethan dared to hope. Not certainty, not safety, not assurance, but hope. A fragile, shining thread of possibility stretching between two worlds, two hearts, daring them to reach across the impossible. And in that moment, he realized that confession, no matter how risky, had opened a door neither of them could have imagined. The days that followed were filled with a strange mixture of joy and fear. Ethan and the princess met whenever they could, stealing moments in quiet gardens and empty corridors. Each encounter was a spark, a reminder that their connection was real, yet each meeting also carried the weight of danger. The palace was alive with eyes that watched, whispers that moved through the halls like shadows, and Ethan felt the impossible truth of his situation pressing on him. Love between their worlds was forbidden. One evening, under the glow of the twin moons, Ethan found himself sitting beside her in a secluded courtyard. The alien flowers glimmered softly, their petals reflecting moonlight like delicate lanterns. He turned to her, trying to hide the anxiety tightening his chest. Do you ever wonder if we are making a mistake? He asked quietly. She looked at him, her expression unreadable. Every day, she admitted, her voice trembling just slightly. I have lived my life within rules older than your planet, bound by traditions that cannot be broken lightly. To love a human, it is unthinkable. And yet every time I see you, I wonder, why should I obey rules that feel so empty? Ethan reached for her hand, holding it gently. Because it is dangerous? He suggested. Because the council would never allow it. Because our worlds might never understand? She nodded, the soft light reflecting in her eyes. Yes, all of that, and yet, when I am with you, I feel something I cannot name, something stronger than fear. Something that whispers of hope and courage and choice. It is confusing, human, terribly confusing. Ethan swallowed, his voice barely above a whisper. I do not know the future. I do not know if we can ever be together openly. But I do know this. I will not let fear take away what I feel. I will fight for this, for you, for us, even if it means standing against worlds I cannot imagine, laws I cannot bend, and dangers I cannot predict. Her gaze softened, and for a moment she allowed herself to imagine a world where rules did not matter, a world where a human and a princess could walk side by side without judgment, without fear. But reality intruded quickly. The council will notice, she said, her voice low. The moment they suspect anything, the consequences could be catastrophic. They would see you as a threat, and me, I would be torn between duty and desire. Ethan nodded, feeling a heavy ache in his chest. He knew the truth of her words, yet his resolve did not falter. I am willing to risk it, he said simply. I am willing to face whatever comes if it means being near you. I do not ask for certainty. I only ask for a chance to prove that love can exist, even between worlds that seem impossible to join. The princess looked at him for a long time, her eyes reflecting the twin moons and the fear and hope within her. You speak as humans rarely do, she whispered. So boldly, so clearly. Perhaps that is what draws me to you. Your courage, your honesty. But courage alone may not be enough. Love may not be enough. Ethan felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He had expected resistance, but the reality of it stung more than he anticipated. Yet he refused to step back. Then let us be enough together, he said. If the universe is against us, we will make our own path. If the worlds forbid us, we will find a way to survive. I do not care about impossibility. I only care about you. For a long moment, the princess said nothing. Then slowly she leaned closer, her forehead brushing against his in a gesture so tender it made his chest ache. You speak of defiance, she said softly. And yet, you do not ask me to leave my world. You do not ask me to abandon who I am. You only ask me to see what love could be if I dared. That is a rare gift, human. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, savoring the warmth of her presence. Around them, the palace seemed indifferent. The festival lights far away and the distant echoes of alien voices faded. For that brief time, there was only them, two beings from worlds apart, daring to hope that love could conquer fear, tradition, and impossibility. The weeks that followed were a delicate dance of courage and secrecy. Ethan and the princess met whenever the palace and the festival allowed, hiding in quiet gardens, behind flowing fountains, or in the shadows of moonlit corridors. Every stolen moment was precious, every whispered word a treasure. With each meeting, their bond grew stronger, not just in desire but in understanding. They learned each other's fears, hopes, and dreams. She taught him the ways of her world, the silent meanings behind gestures, the language of her people's hearts. He taught her human laughter, human warmth, and the simple joy of touch without expectation. One evening, under the glow of the twin moons, Ethan watched her as she spoke softly to a rare flower that glimmered like silver. You notice the smallest details, she said, turning to him with a soft smile. Even the flowers that no one else sees, you notice them. Ethan shrugged, smiling back. Maybe humans are good at noticing what's fragile. Maybe we have to be. Our lives are short, so we learn to see what matters. Her eyes softened, and for the first time she looked less like a princess and more like a person, someone who could laugh, sigh, and wonder. You make everything seem possible, she admitted, even when the rules of my world scream that it cannot be. Ethan reached for her hand, holding it carefully, feeling the warmth and strength in her touch. Then let us make the impossible possible, he whispered. We do not need approval. We do not need certainty. We only need each other. But their secret could not remain hidden forever. Rumors began to swirl through the palace corridors. Whispers of the human who dared to approach the princess reached the ears of the royal council. Guards watched more closely. Advisors asked questions in veiled tones, probing, testing. The tension became palpable. Each meeting felt riskier, each word heavier. Ethan could feel the pressure, the danger, but he refused to retreat. One night they sat on the highest terrace, the twin moons casting silver light over the city below. They are starting to notice, she said quietly, her voice tight with worry. The council. They will not allow this. They will see you as a threat. Me. I will be forced to obey or... Her voice faltered. Or what? Ethan asked gently, turning to her. Or we could lose everything, she said, eyes glistening. Our freedom, our lives, our chance to be together. Ethan felt a cold weight in his chest, yet he refused to give in to fear. Then we fight, he said simply. We fight not with weapons, but with our hearts. We fight with truth, courage, and love. They may try to stop us, but nothing can stop two hearts that are determined to be together. The princess looked at him, her expression a mixture of awe, fear, and something deeper, hope. "You speak as if the universe itself could bend for us," she whispered. "Do you truly believe it could?" "I do not know," Ethan admitted. "But I believe that humans are capable of more than most realize. We are fragile, yes, but we are stubborn. We are brave. And when we choose something worth fighting for, we do not give up no matter the cost." For the first time, she let herself imagine a life where they could stand together openly, a life where the council's rules could be challenged, where love could triumph over fear. She leaned her head against his shoulder, and Ethan felt the warmth, the trust, the connection deepen. "Then we will try," she said softly. "We will see if our hearts are strong enough." As the night deepened, they sat together in silence, two beings from distant worlds, daring to dream. Around them, the city slept. The twin moons watched, and for a moment the universe seemed to hold its breath. Their love was still fragile, still dangerous, but it was alive, and in that, Ethan and the princess found a strength neither had expected. The day of truth arrived sooner than either of them expected. The palace, usually filled with music and laughter, was silent and tense. Ethan could feel the weight of countless eyes on him as he walked through the long marble halls. The air itself seemed heavy, charged with fear and judgment. The council had summoned the princess and him to stand before them. The secret they had tried so hard to keep was no longer a secret. The council chamber was vast, surrounded by floating lights that glowed faintly with power. The elders sat in a half-circle, their faces unreadable, their eyes cold and distant. The princess stood tall beside Ethan, her royal robes flowing around her like liquid light. She looked calm, but he could see the pain in her eyes, the quiet storm hidden beneath her graceful composure. "You stand accused of breaking the sacred law," one of the elders said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You, Princess Lyara of Viridian, have engaged in a forbidden bond with a human. You have brought shame to your lineage and danger to the peace between our worlds." Ethan felt anger burn inside him, but he kept his head bowed. He could not risk speaking too soon. The princess's voice was steady, though soft. "I have done nothing shameful," she said. "I have only felt what every being in this universe is capable of. Love." The word hung in the air like thunder. The council members shifted uncomfortably. One of them leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "Love between human and Viridian? Impossible. Our bloodlines are sacred. Our laws exist for a reason." Ethan finally looked up, meeting the elder's gaze. "Your laws may be sacred to you," he said quietly, "but love doesn't follow laws. It doesn't follow planets, blood, or fear. I may be human, but my feelings are real. My heart is real. And if that is a crime, then I accept the punishment." The princess turned to look at him, her eyes shimmering with emotion. For a moment, everything else vanished. The walls, the council, the fear, none of it mattered. There was only the two of them, standing together against a universe that refused to understand. The eldest counselor rose, his voice trembling with restrained anger. "You would risk your life, human, for something you cannot have?" Ethan nodded, his voice clear and strong. "Yes, because to feel something so pure and do nothing would be worse than death. You think humans are weak, but maybe you've forgotten that strength isn't always in power or blood. Sometimes it's in the heart." A murmur spread across the chamber. The counselors exchanged glances, uncertain. The princess stepped forward, her voice gaining strength. "I will not deny my heart. I am my people's daughter, but I am also my own being. If loving him is rebellion, then let it be known that I choose love over fear." The silence that followed was almost unbearable. The lights around the chamber flickered, reacting to her words. Ethan felt his throat tighten, emotion rising like a tide he could not hold back. "You may take everything from me," she continued, looking at the elders, "but you cannot command what I feel. If our worlds cannot understand, then let our love be the beginning of change." For a long time no one spoke. Then the eldest counselor sighed deeply, his expression heavy. "The path you choose is dangerous. The worlds will not accept it easily. But perhaps," he paused, his gaze softening, "perhaps love is the one truth that no power can erase." The council dismissed them, and though no sentence was spoken, they both knew the meaning behind the silence. In their love was not accepted, but neither was it destroyed. They had won something far greater than permission. They had earned the right to stand together, even in defiance. As they left the chamber, the princess turned to Ethan, her eyes, filled with tears, shimmered with quiet strength. "You were willing to lose everything," she whispered. "Why?" Ethan smiled softly. "Because love is not about winning or losing. It's about choosing. And I chose you." She reached for his hand, gripping it tightly as they stepped out beneath the twin moons. For the first time, the air felt lighter. The danger was not gone, but their hearts were free. And in that freedom, they found something stronger than fear: hope. The night sky of Viridian had never looked so beautiful. 2 moons hung high above, their soft light spreading across the royal gardens where the air smelled of silver leaves and blooming crystals. Ethan stood beside the princess, their hands gently touching as if afraid the moment would fade away if held too tightly. It had been 3 weeks since the council's judgment. The worlds had not accepted their love, yet no punishment had come either. They were caught in between, not free, not imprisoned, living in a fragile peace. But to them, every moment together was precious, a stolen gift from a universe that had almost torn them apart. The princess, Liara, stood in silence for a while, looking at the glowing horizon. "Do you ever wish you had never met me?" she asked softly, her voice trembling. Ethan turned to her, his eyes warm. "Every day I thank the stars that I did," he said. "Even if it brought pain. Even if it changed everything. Because meeting you taught me what love truly means." Her lips curved into a small smile, but sadness lingered behind it. "My people still whisper," she said. "They call me the foolish princess who gave her heart to a human. Some even call you a curse." He squeezed her hand gently. "Let them talk," he said. "If love is a curse, then I'm proud to be cursed by you." She looked at him then, her eyes glimmering like the moons above. In that moment, all titles, laws, and fear vanished. There was only her heart beating softly and his steady breath beside her. For once, they were just 2 souls, not princess and soldier, not alien and human, just 2 beings who had found home in each other. But peace never stayed long on Viridian. A message arrived the next morning. The Terran fleet was approaching. Humans, unaware of the fragile bond between the 2 worlds, were coming to rescue Ethan, believing he was being held captive. Warships burned through the sky, their engines roaring across the heavens. Liara's face went pale. "If they attack, my people will strike back," she whispered. "This could start a war that will destroy both worlds." Ethan's heart pounded. "Then I'll stop it," he said. "They came for me, I'll go to them." She grabbed his arm, fear shining in her eyes. "If you go, they'll take you away. I'll never see you again." He smiled sadly. "If I stay, more will die. I can't let that happen." He reached up and touched her cheek. "You taught me that love is not about holding on. It's about doing what's right even when it hurts." Tears filled her eyes. "Ethan." He kissed her gently, a soft goodbye that carried 1,000 words. "No matter what happens," he whispered, "look at the stars. I'll be there, every night watching over you." The next dawn, Ethan walked toward the landing site where Terran ships hovered like steel birds in the mist. He turned once more to see Liara standing far behind, her white gown glowing under the rising light. She didn't cry. She stood proud, her heart breaking silently. When he reached the Terran captain, they demanded to know what had happened. Ethan didn't tell them about the love, the council, or the defiance. He simply said, "Tell Earth we are not enemies. Tell them we have something to learn from the people of Viridian, something we forgot long ago." The Terran fleet withdrew peacefully. No war began that day. But Ethan never returned to Viridian. Months later, stories spread among the stars. Stories of a human who gave up everything to protect love itself. The princess often stood by her balcony at night, staring at the twin moons. Every night she whispered the same words, hoping the stars would carry them to him. "I'm still waiting." And one night, as the wind swept gently across the garden, a small star burned brighter than all others. A single streak of light across the sky. Liara smiled through her tears, her heart full of warmth. In that glow, she felt his presence, not gone, but eternal, because some loves, even when divided by galaxies, never truly end. They become the light between worlds, the promise beneath the stars.